Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. It's going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. So following the video I did on Norog, I posted a question: does anyone have a Duchess and a Norog on the same account? Can we do a bit of work, a bit of theory crafting to see if their passives actually stack? So I've got Furtivo, who has given me his account for a bit of a playtest. Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to get into some work on damage mitigation, run some numbers, run some testing, see how it goes. So the interesting thing for me here is he's actually got, where is my big fella Norog? Not in there. I think it might be 50s over here. Yeah, he's actually got two Norogs. He's got a Duchess. So Duchess has got a passive similar to what Norog has, but her passive is all about AoE attacks. So reduces damage taken by AoE attacks by 25%. So we've got 25% here. If she puts them under a veil, it goes up to 40%. Yeah, so we've got 40% potential AoE reduction. We've also got in Norog a 15% reduced damage. He has to be ascended for this to kick in, actually. Let's see if he's got any potions to make that happen. And then he's got a second one. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is, can two Norogs stack? Can Norogs stack with Duchess? Can Norogs and Duchess stack with Stalwart gear? And if all of those things stack, how does the game stack them? So does it add 15% to 15% to 40, or does it work it through in a different way and start working out percentages of remaining health? So I'm really interested to see what this can do. I'm just going to do a bit of work in this account to set it all up, and then we will get into playing around with some numbers. Okay, so I'm going to explain what we're going to do here. So Duchess has got her passive fully active. So she has got a passive here that reduces damage from AoE attacks by 25%. We don't have any potions to get these guys booked up, which is a real shame, but it actually doesn't change the piece of work I'm going to do. So what I'm going to see is whether Norog's passive decreases damage 7.5% stacks with Duchess, and whether he stacks with himself, and whether he stacks with Stalwart gear. So what I've done is I've just got 2 bits of food, 2 incubuses, and all I've done is I've put on some artifacts to get them to the same sort of total stats. So we've got one of them here is at 5.2k HP and 156 defense, and the other one here, who's in Stalwart gear, has got 5k defense, 5k HP, 162 defense. So they're nigh on identical in terms of their defensive capabilities. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw them into some campaign content and start letting them take hits, and then start introducing the different factors to see what difference it makes to us. So let's take her out. Yeah, I just need to find the right level of campaign so we're always taking AoE damage. Okay, so we're going to use stage 4 of Durham Forest, which gives us AoE damage from the off, and it's AoE damage, and we're on Nightmare campaign, so that my guys that I introduce aren't just going to completely overrule all of the detail that we're gaining here. So what I'm going to do first is just run 5 runs of stage 1 and record the hits. So I'll show you it on camera for the first one. So I've got both of these guys in here. So my lead, the one with 162 defense, is the one who's in Stalwart gear. So if I show you that again quickly. So we've got this guy, Stalwart gear, 162 defense. So Stalwart gear is 162 defense guy. He's my lead. What I'm going to do is just record the AoE damage that I take on both of these guys. So firstly, I'll show you this first run, and then I'll just run it through whilst off camera. So I'm just going to stop it here. Basically what I'm going to do is just run it slowly, and our guys hit first. Now we're going to get a hit back from their team. See that? One hits for 4.1k, one hits for 2.8k. So you're already seeing there the mitigation between stalwart and non-stalwart gear. So let's run it through again. This is what I'm going to do just kind of in terms of testing phase. If you see here, 3.8 and 3K. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just add in an Norog. So I've taken the damage for the first 5 hits. I'm going to add in a Norog, which should reduce everybody's damage by 7.5%. I'm going to run this 4 times as well. Hopefully it doesn't do anything. It's going to throw out the damage multipliers that we get. Other than, no, here we go. So now we've got a 1.7 and a 3.2. The only thing we have got here is weak hits. So that is, yeah, that's that's annoying. Maybe there's a better stage that I should be doing this on where reds are not the weak hits, but let's try it again. I just want to get 5 where I don't get weak hits. So it gives me the right information. The weak hits again. Maybe I'm testing on a bad stage here. I've actually not been getting that many weak hits up until now. Let's try one more on camera. There we go, 2.4 and 3.3. 2.4, 3.3. Yeah, so I'm going to run through that and then I'm going to add a second Norog in. Okay, so we're at the stage now where we're throwing in a second Norog to see how this works and seeing if that damage reduces again. And I'm basically capturing all of these on camera to get all of the numbers properly. And we're just going to run it through a number of times again and see what sort of damage is hit to us on average here. If it's changed up from the single Norog. I think just visually, and I need to check the numbers here, but visually I think the 2 Norogs are not stacking on top of each other. I think the 2 Norogs are not giving us additional benefit. I'm pretty certain they're not, which is probably right. So Bad Alcazar had a stacking passive in the early days where he could kick out tons of damage if he had 2 Bad Alcazars, and they fixed it so that the 2 of them could not stack together. So I think the game has kind of realised that, which is good. So what I'm going to do lastly then is so I'm going to take 1 Norg out, put in a Duchess, and then I'm going to take out one of these guys at a time and put Duchess, Norog and Norog in together and see what we get for damage there. Okay, so let's get into some of the facts and figures that I've kind of collated over doing this testing. I do think this is going to be the broken combo, the meta changer. And this is why. So what we've got here is a graph based on some of the stats that I've taken. So bear with me while I try and talk through the numbers on this page. Pretty much if you look at that blue line there, what I'm saying is that is the base that we're starting from. So that is the champion who had normal gear on and didn't wear any stalwart gear. So I'm taking him as 100% damage. No mitigation, he's just 100% damage. If you then look at the blue line of the person who's in stalwart gear, so we've gone from this graph here to the one on the right. The one in blue is basically saying when that same champion got hit who was wearing stalwart gear, how much damage mitigation did we get from the base level? And we got nearly exactly 30%. So we actually got 30.02 on my runs. So it's almost exactly where I would expect it to be for Stalwart. Stalwart reduces damage by 30%. So that ticks a box. That says yes, that's where we would expect it to be. I then checked what it would be like if that same champion or the 2 champions were paired with Norog. And I would expect Norog to give me, because he wasn't ascended, 7.5% damage reduction. So we actually got 92.3 versus an expectation of 92.5 for the guy that wasn't wearing any armor. And we got 62.1 against the 62.5, the guy that was wearing stalwart. So basically that falls in line. I then tried 2 Norogs back to back. And what's happened here is we didn't get any additional gain. You see the yellow and red lines are exactly the same. So 2 Norogs do not stack. So we still only got the 7.5% reduction. So it kind of threw out the idea that you might be able to have a whole team of Norogs and get a crazy reduction. Doesn't work. We then looked at just Duchess on her own. And she's meant to give us a 40% reduction in damage for AoE in this sort of content. And lo and behold, it was almost exactly 40%. So 39.8% is the damage reduction I got over my runs. And then when I tried it in Stalwart gear, so I was wondering whether it would be 40%, which is the Duchess number, plus 30%, which is Stalwart number, i.e. 70%. That's not the number we got. So we actually got a reduction of 57.5%. And I'll talk through why that is shortly. But still, it's massive. It's a massive reduction, but it's not what we thought it might be. I then did the same. So I looked at Duchess plus Norog with that champion. And you can see here on this kind of orange line, we actually reduced, what did we reduce there? So for the guy that wasn't wearing Stalwart gear, we reduced about 45% of the damage coming in. Because again, it's a massive number. Every hit was reduced by 45%. And then when we had them in Stalwart gear, we reduced 63% of all damage coming in. So this orange bar here, if you compare it to where we were with this blue bar, so let's assume we've been hit for 1,000. Well, actually, if you were having Norog in your team, Duchess in your team, and you're wearing Stalwart gear, that 1,000 hit would actually hit you for 376. I mean, that is just an insane damage reduction. And again, just to kind of follow it through, I put 2 Norogs in with Duchess. It made no difference. Double Norogs do not stack. So, what does this mean then? So, I'll try and explain what's happening with Duchess and why we didn't see the full 70% reduction. So what's happened is Stalwart gives us a full 30% reduction for AoEs. Norog gives us a full 7.5%. If he was ascended, it would be 15. So we actually got a full 37.5. Those two added together, and it was a complete cleanse of 37.5% off of the damage numbers. What Duchess then does is she then resets the base of your HP bar at this level, and then she reduces 40% damage. So instead of reducing 40% on top of from the start point of your HP level, she actually reduces 40% after these two effects have already taken place, which means we don't get the full kind of total HP pool 40%. We actually got, what was the difference? I think we ended up getting, so Norog, we was on 63 versus, let me see. Yeah, so we ended up with a 63% damage mitigation when we have Duchess plus Norog, instead of the kind of 77.5% that we thought we were going to see if they all just added together. But still, 63% is actually mental and game changing. So if I just kind of flick over to the last piece of information. So what does this mean if we were fighting the clan boss? So if we were fighting the clan boss and we had all of these factors in play, Norog in the team, people wearing Stalwart gear, Tyrant in your team, who also gives us a 10% reduction in damage if that enemy has got HP burn on, and Duchess in your team, we would get a full 55% from these three elements, Norog, Tyrant and Stalwart. We would then get 25% reduction, because she only reduces 25% on bosses, and clan boss I'm assuming factors as a boss. So we get 25% on the remaining 45% of your HP pool. So the overall total, if you play these three together plus Stalwart gear, is a damage reduction of 63.25% on any of his AoE hits. This doesn't even take into account whether we're wearing defense or not. I mean, I think this is game changing. If you've got these three champions, which I don't, unfortunately, I've only got one of them, but if you had these three champions together, put your team in Stalwart, I mean, if you threw Bad L into the mix as well, and perhaps Vizier, then I think you would be doing a 1 key on Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss with this team. I'm pretty certain that's the sort of level you're going to get to. because the damage reduction is going to be insanity. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets out there, people start running it, start one keying Ultra Nightmare, and potentially there's some sort of nerf that comes alongside it, because it's pretty mental if you can get this sort of mitigation going on. If anyone has got these 3 champions and has got the gear level to make this work, please drop me a line. If you're already doing something like this, drop me a line. If you're not and you want me to do some testing, drop me a line. I'd really love to see what I can do on a Clan Boss team that's got this setup. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's probably one of the biggest sort of game-changing elements that you'll find since probably the Unkillable comps were introduced. So yeah, look, this has been really interesting to do. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've got any comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, this is Hell Hades signing out.